Kebbi State Deputy Governor escapes death as bandit kills his ADC and 18 military personnel. Senate throws out President Muhammadu Buhari's electoral bill. Police arrest kidnap syndicate that killed victim in Faskari local government area. And on the foreign scene, opposition Yoon Suk Yeol elected South Korean president. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. We begin with security. Kebbi State Deputy Governor Samaila Dabai says he escaped bandits' attack in Kanya, Waje district of Lonko Wasagu local government area. The Deputy Governor, a retired Army colonel, regularly visits the area to monitor military operations tackling banditry. A statement signed by Senior Special Assistant New Media to the Deputy Governor, Atom Turba, said the Deputy Governor, in company of Commanding Officer 223 Light Tank Battalion Zuru, were ambushed by bandits while returning from military formation visits to boost morale of soldiers. A security aide attached to the Deputy Governor, ASP Idris Umar Libata, and 18 military operatives were killed. Recounting his ordeal, the Deputy Governor laments the spate of informants disguising in public, revealing movement of troops as well as vigilante groups whose bravery mission is to tackle the menace. Dabai commends the bravery of the military men and vigilante groups for their rapid response, maintaining that his presence at the battlefield is born out of passion to see a safer environment where locals would go to farm and do their business activities without hitches. Dabai prayed for the repose of his deceased security aide, military personnel, and all those that gave their lives in defense of the territory, adding that they shall be remembered for their bravery forever. According to reports, the armed bandits also burnt their vehicles during the fresh attack and also abducted scores of villagers in villages close to Kanya. House of Representatives wants establishment of military bases in some parts of Kebbi State to curb incessant attacks by bandits, citing the latest security breach during which many local volunteers were killed. The issue raised by Representative Tanko Sununu as a matter of urgent public importance brought to the fore incidents in the last couple of months where bandits attack helpless communities to kill, kidnap, and rustle cattle. The report.
The attacks in some part of Kebbi State, according to the lawmaker, have led to humanitarian crisis and untold hardship in the Southern Senatorial District. The House is worried that the current attack has left many families in disarray and economic activities grounded. The House therefore urged for deployment of more troops and equipment to eliminate the criminals and also provide relief materials to those affected by the attacks.
Concerned that if no urgent remedial and deterrent action is taken to arrest the incessant attack in Kebbi South, it has the capacity to make the area ungovernable, worsen the level of poverty as many social services are already affected, increase the level of illiteracy of the areas due to poor school attendance and disorganized academic calendar.
Meanwhile, the minority leader Ndudi Elumelu raised a motion of a 22-year-old young girl, Oluwabamiche Ayomola, recently murdered in cold blood in Lagos State. The lawmaker is worried that many of the incessant attacks are underreported in view of the stigma attached to such incidents and molestation when such reports are made.
Further aware that Oluwabamiche was last seen on 26th of February 2022 after boarding a BRT bus number 240257 at about 7 p.m. around Chevron bus stop. The stop that there are allegations that the BRT driver earlier confessed of having carnal knowledge of late Miss Bamiche before killing her and harvesting some of her vital organs, only for the story to change after some influential Nigerians perceived to have intervened on his behalf.
The House therefore resolved to urge the federal government through the Nigerian Police and National Security and Intelligence to fast-track investigation and ensure the killers of Oluwabamiche Ayomola are brought to justice.
Senate on Wednesday rejected President Muhammadu Buhari's request to amend Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022 as senators voted overwhelmingly to stop further amendments. A federal high court had restrained the National Assembly from further amendment to the act after it was signed to law. Section 84 forbids political appointees from voting as delegates or aspirants during political party convention or congresses. The report.
The restriction by the court to allow for further amendments of the Electoral Act is seen by analysts as true demonstration of the principle of separation of powers. The judiciary, they say, works independent of the executive and the legislature. A cross-section of senators emphasized the need to respect the court order, while the Senate President Ahmed Lawan told the lawmakers that they are not committing any wrongdoing if they go ahead with the amendment.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, there are certain things that we see which we think we don't even have to come here to debate. One of those things is the fact that in every democracy all over the world, there are certain rules which we don't need to be told about. And one of those rules is the fact that you cannot be a referee and a player in the same field. It's either you're a referee or you're a player.
Yesterday, this point of order was raised, and you ruled that we should go ahead and treat this amendment. Mr. President, already the parties involved have decided to go for appeal. I'm of the opinion, Mr. President, the right thing to do is to allow the appeal to go so that the court order can be set aside. Then we can come in and treat this bill. Doing so, obviously, will mean that we are...
And this very historic debate. Mr. President, one of the hallmark of democracy is justice, fairness, and equity. And indeed, Mr. President, it's a settled matter in law that you cannot be a judge over your own case. In any election, Mr. President, where people have the added advantage of holding executive power, either by proxy or directly, either by appointment, and for such people to have access to compete with others who came from the street, I think it's an unjust society. Yeah. Therefore, Mr. President, I disagree with all the arguments emanating from your table on the need to reconsider a decision that already been settled.
After deliberations on the bill presented on the floor by the Senate leader Yahya Abdullahi, the Senate President put the amendment to voice vote, during which the News had it.
The fact that the court said the National Assembly should not tamper with law, the Electoral Act 2022, as amended, except through due process, does not mean that the National Assembly cannot consider the bill. So I think we are not breaching any law. In fact, we are trying to promote democracy by doing this. Because to do otherwise, one day someone will go to court and say that the Senate or the National Assembly should not sit. So I want to please appeal to all of us that we are on the right course, and my ruling remains that we are going ahead to consider the proposal, the request, which the leader of the Senate is leading the debate.
President Muhammadu Buhari had, in a letter sent to the National Assembly on the 1st of March 2022, requested for a reamendment of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act to permit political appointees contest for elective positions without resigning their appointments. The clause under contention also states that no political appointee shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party.
Still talking politics, Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) releases timetable and schedule of activities for 2023 elections. INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in Kaduna, Dr. Asama Omekwudi, addressed the press conference at INEC headquarters in the state. Dr. Omekwudi said continuous voter registration exercise put on hold in Birnin Gwari local government area due to security challenges will now resume.
To 6 p.m. on Friday, 17th June 2022. Submission of nomination forms to INEC via online nomination portal for governorship and state assembly elections. This is now slated for 9 a.m. on Friday, 1st of June 2022 to 6 p.m. on Friday, 15th July 2022. Commencement of campaigns by political parties for presidential and national assembly elections. This is on Wednesday, 28th of September 2022. Commencement and campaigns by political parties for governorship and state assembly elections. This is slated for Wednesday, 12th October 2022. The last day of campaign by political parties for presidential and national assembly elections is on the midnight of Thursday, 23rd of February 2023. Then the last day for campaign by political parties for governorship and state assembly elections is on the midnight of Thursday, 9th of March 2023. As you are all aware, the reason for the non-commencement of the CBR in Birnin Gwari was due to the issue of insecurity in the local government. But with the intervention of security agencies and the commitment and assurance of the stakeholders from the local government, the exercise has been given the green light and it has successfully taken off. The CBR exercise in the local government has been given extra attention with the deployment of additional staff and machines to assist the concluding part of the third quarter and the commencement of the fourth quarter as scheduled in the electoral calendar. The CBR exercise will be transiting to a new level with the introduction of movement of men and materials from one RA to another commencing from yesterday, Tuesday, 8th of March in all the 23 local governments of the state, based on a rotation schedule.
Stakeholders in Nigeria's democratic process say for the newly signed electoral law to make meaningful impact, efforts must be made to strengthen institutions, devise punitive measures, and ensure attitudinal change amongst Nigerians. The respondents, while speaking to Trust TV's Shafi'u Suleiman, say though reforming electoral law is a step further in sanitizing the nation's electoral and democratic process, there is need to consolidate on the feet. The report.
President Muhammadu Buhari has recently appended his signature on the much-debated Electoral Act Amendment Bill as reworked by the National Assembly. Part of the objectives of the amended law is to engender transparency and accountability in the nation's electoral process, discourage human interference through electronic transmission, as well as open the electoral space for more participation amongst others.
It's a plus. Kudos to Mr. President. Kudos to the National Assembly, kudos to Nigeria, that we have a reformed electoral law in place. But the big question is that, would the electoral law change our attitude? It's still a big question. Unless our attitude is changed, I'm not sure electoral law alone can work miracles.
Because a law is as good as its enforcement. If it's not enforced, it's not even worth the paper that is written on. So this bill is not an exception. Mr. President must go a step further by ensuring that the security agencies do their work, before the elections, during the elections, and after the elections.
Then once you have somebody that seemingly meets some expectation, develop some social contract, because that is what the Constitution even says. That political office and citizens have what they call the social charter, you know, and that social charter must actually include and indicate some expectations, you know, which the political office must sign off. Then you use that as an instrument for engagement. Then once the person gets to the office, then you can use that to begin to demand some level of accountability, demand some kind of infrastructure.
The respondents say, though reforming the electoral law to address existential and contemporary loopholes is imperative, realizing the objective of free, fair and credible election requires much more than sound legal framework.
One will be the political parties, two will be the electorate, and three will be INEC. And security institutions also have a very big role to play. In previous elections, they have been used very massively for rigging, for distortion, for manipulation. We need to get security agencies also to understand that yes, they are neutral in the entire processes, but they also have a role to ensure that credibilities are also recorded at every stance in the entire value chain.
We should not exonerate ourselves that politicians are the ones that are bad. Some of us are their advisors as professors. What are we advising them? Everybody just advising for his pocket. The businessmen, they also are in the economy. Even the religious leader, what are we preaching in the churches and mosques? Is it not, whom are we praying for? We've monetized prayers. You pray for those who have money.
The person giving and the person receiving, all of them are guilty, you know, of the same offense. So if in any situation people are brought, you know, before the court that you received this amount of money, it's a criminal offense. You gave this amount of money, it's a criminal offense, and they are dealt with in accordance with the law. I'm sure people will be discouraged.
Attitudinal change amongst Nigerians, the political actors, the electoral umpire and security agencies towards achieving credible electoral process, they say, is critical to meeting the desired objective. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Police in Katsina State arrest 2 bandits suspected of abduction and killing of Umar Abdullahi Ankalele of Faskari local government area. Those arrested in connection with the killing are Nasiru Muhammad and Abubakar Ilyasu. Abdullahi Amadi tells us more.
The bandits, numbering about 7, armed with AK-47 rifle, stormed the residence of Umar Abdullahi of Dogonhawa village in Faskari local government on the 1st of March 2022, kidnapped and killed the victim when he resisted the attempt to be taken away by the bandits. While parading the suspects, the police public relations officer SP Gambo Isa told journalists that the notorious bandits confessed to have committed the offense.
We succeeded in arresting these 2 guys that you are seeing here with me. Nasiru Muhammad, 27 years, of Faskari. Abubakar Ilyasu, male, age 25 years, of the same town. They are participants criminis. They participated in actual kidnapping and also the murder or culpable homicides or killing of Umar Abdullahi Ankalele.
The notorious bandits' father confessed that 7 of them, under the leadership of One Yellow, a notorious bandits kingpin, now at large, attacked the resident of Alhaji Umar Abdullahi. The suspect also mentioned Samaila, Ibrahim, and Sani, all of Yankara and Dajing Ermalamai villages in Faskari local government, as some of their collaborators who are now at large.
Actually, they were the one that went into his residence on that fateful date, and they went with 5 others under the leadership of one notorious bandit called Yellow.
The police, however, told journalists that all efforts are being made to follow the remaining members of the syndicate to their hideout and bring them to justice. The police command also appealed to the good people of Katsina State to be more resilient and summon courage in providing vital information that could lead to the arrest of all criminal elements terrorizing the state. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Officials of Lagos Bus Services Limited, operators of BRT, where late Bamishi was alleged to have been abducted, resumed duty. but officials left hurriedly after a report filtered in that a bus is attacked. The terminals of BRT stations at TBS, Surulere and Fadei areas became empty. Commuters were forced to take alternative vehicles to their destination due to the incident. Only Primero, a private BRT operator, is seen commuting passengers but were cautious while working following reports of attack on BRTs. Meanwhile, BRT drivers are appealing for security operatives to be drafted to each bus to protect them from aggrieved persons that may want to attack the bus. However, police officers were seen stationed at the entrance of Oshodi BRT terminal following reports of attacks on a BRT. You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. Water scarcity for irrigation farming. Do stay with us.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. Here are some of our top stories. You heard that Kebbi State Deputy Governor says he escaped bandits' attack in Kanya, Waje district of Danko Wasagu local government area as 15 soldiers are killed. You also heard the Senate on Wednesday rejected President Muhammadu Buhari's request to amend Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022 as senators voted overwhelmingly to stop further amendments. On health, Nigeria's Center for Disease Control says it has recorded 84 new COVID-19 infections in 5 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The agency's data shows that 98 people were discharged after they recovered. Meanwhile, no death was reported on Wednesday, making it the 19th day with no fatalities. With the new figure, Nigeria now has recorded 254,861 cases, 249,307 recoveries, and 3,142 fatalities across the country. Similarly, the United Nations Children Fund and the World Bank says about 2/3 of households with children lost income since the inception of the COVID-19 pandemic. The report noted that reduced earnings have put parents in a position where their children are going without food for a day or more. Irrigation farmers in Kano warn of possible shortage of tomatoes, onions, rice and other food crops owing to the shortage of water. In this special feature, Trust TV's correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that many irrigation farmers who depend on water from various dams in Kano could not cultivate this year. The report.
Tomato season is here again. Hamza Al-Hassan and several other farmers have been looking forward to this moment. But this year the result is mixed, and more bad news may await, because for nearly 6 months, the water channel for irrigation is blocked, and many of these farmers were left stranded.
Well, actually, we had a serious problem this year due to the water blockade, which affected the farming process. But for those who have a tube well, they may have a cause to smile because the tomato is fine, but generally, there was a problem with the water supply. Honestly, the problem of water for irrigation has been a major issue, and there is the problem of insects that have been disturbing us, and there is no money to make the process very vibrant.
In this part of Kano State, there used to be hundreds of tomato farms harvesting by this time every year. But at the moment, this farm is among the few ones using a tube well to cultivate. They say the problem of water from the dam this year will certainly worsen the price of the products. Onions too is another vital vegetable crop badly affected by the water blockade. Although farmers say the harvest has been good this year, but there is no enough for supply to the markets.
The problem is that the water has been blocked from the dam, which means it's no longer coming here. And this has been a major problem for us. And we that are here, we don't have enough water to ensure the good tomato is produced So this is generally the problem that has affected this year's tomato farming.
Yanzu gaskiya muna cikin halin wannan matsala. Mun kan fuskanci kalubale.
And finally, on the foreign scene, opposition conservative Yoon Suk Yeol has won South Korea's presidential election, propelling a political novice and avowed anti-feminist in the helm of Asia's fourth largest economy. After a bitter, hard-fought election campaign, Yoon, formerly a top government prosecutor who has never held elected office, was declared winner early Thursday after rival Lee Jae-myung from the incumbent Democratic Party conceded defeat. Despite a campaign dominated by mudslinging between frontrunners Yoon and Lee, voter turnout was 77.1%, including record early voting with interest strong and the policy stakes high in the country of some 52 million. The two parties are ideologically poles apart, and Yoon's victory looks set to usher in a more hawkish, fiscally conservative regime after 5 years under outgoing President Moon Jae-in's dovish liberals. We've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.